Years, scientists have been warning us about climate change, but did you know it could have an unequal impact on people based on where they live?
Yeah, meteorologist Belen de Leon is back to give us a closer look. And Belen, what you found out is so impactful and very concerning, too.
It is, Adrian. It's called the climate gap. And I spoke with a professor at USC about his research and why climate change is hurting some Americans more than others. His findings might surprise you.
Dr. Manuel Pastor is a professor at the University of Southern California. His research is focused on the impacts of climate change on the underserved population. It's called the climate gap.
Climate gap is the fact that it's communities of color and low-income communities who are actually disproportionately affected by the climate crisis.
Heat waves, droughts, and floods are expected to increase and intensify in the next 100 years. Low-income urban neighborhoods and communities of color are more vulnerable to heat waves because of the heat island effect.
Heat islands are urbanized areas that experience higher temperatures than outlying areas. Look at this infrared layer. Notice how the buildings, the roads, and other infrastructure, they absorb and re-emit the sun's heat more than natural landscapes such as forests and water bodies. Temperatures in heat islands are about 1 to 7 degrees higher than in outlying areas.
In a study on 9 California counties, researchers found that for every 10 degrees increase in temperature, there's a 2.6 increase in cardiovascular deaths. The risks were higher for African Americans. Agricultural and construction workers, who are predominantly Mexican and Central American, are at increased risk of death because they work outside.
I think those are industries where we're going to face increasing threats as the planet warms, and we're going to need to build in increasing safeguards for those workers.
Researchers say minorities and the poor will breathe even dirtier air.
When I say that the air that a kid of color faces in Los Angeles County is quite different than the air that a white kid faces, and that it has impacts on their health, on asthma, on their ability to learn. So many people say, gosh, that's terrible.
5 of the 10 most ozone-polluted metro areas in the United States are in California. Because of this, California already suffers a relatively high disease burden from air pollution, including 18,000 premature deaths each year and tens of thousands of other illnesses.
We can move in a way that transitions us away from fossil fuels and air pollution and the emission of greenhouse gases at the level we are right now. And we can move in a way that addresses some of the historic inequalities, both in the labor market and in terms of environmental exposure.
Dr. Pastor believes that if we protect those who are most vulnerable, we will protect all of us.
Climate change is real, but so is the climate gap, and we need to address both of them together.
And Dr. Pastor says that fundamentally it's a question of political power, and if that political power is on the side of protecting the planet and promoting equity.
Well, that graphic you put together showing the heat islands, essentially we're all living on the heat island then, right? Because it's like we have the high rises, it's so densely populated and packed here in Southern California, so it's going to affect really all of us.
Yes, absolutely. Where you have that infrastructure and it absorbs the sun's rays. But, you know, this week, speaking of political power, there is going to be a big summit in New York. It's Climate Week, when you have the leaders of the world that are getting together, and they're going to really hold the major emitters accountable and try and set some aggressive goals to try and curb emissions by 2030. So we'll be giving you updates on that together with the Today Show.
Needs to be done.
Yeah, thank you for that, Belen.
Yes, absolutely. Well,